This M4 MacBook Pro has been to 7 cities over the past 3 months, and even though I originally said that the M4 Pro MacBook Pro would be the one that I would keep, a lot has changed. So in this video, I want to discuss my roller coaster ride with the M4 and the M4 Pro MacBook Pro after 3 months of usage. Okay, so the M4 MacBook Pro was a big upgrade even over the M3 MacBook Pro for several reasons, but one of the main practical reasons that really opened my eyes just this past month is the fact that I don't need to carry around a dongle anymore. And that's because with the M4 MacBook Pro, both the base model and the M4 model get 3 USB-C ports. Last year, the base model only got 2, and they were both on that left-hand side. And this has been so handy when I'm away from home and I have multiple devices to either charge or transfer data from and have my SSD. The 3 USB-C ports have been a big deal for me. And I don't do this very often, but it was really nice to know that the base model M4 MacBook Pro could support a dual external monitor setup when in clamshell mode or not. So I could have my MacBook open and using the keyboard and trackpad while I have a dual display setup. That was not possible last year because I had to be in clamshell mode with the base M3. But that's not the only practical and visual change on the M4 MacBook Pro that I've really grown to love over the past few months. We also need to talk about the nano texture display because, to be honest, I was kind of skeptical of this at first. Like, yes, I loved it, don't get me wrong, but I was still skeptical, not because of its anti-reflective properties, I loved that from the beginning, but because I was worried that it might cause the display to be less vibrant and more kind of washed out. And I'm somebody who color grades my own videos in Final Cut Pro. I do a lot of Lightroom editing, and I need the most accurate color possible. So if I was not getting the most accurate color possible, it'd be a deal breaker for me. I could not use this MacBook Pro with the nano texture display. But I'll tell you right now, this display has not had that effect on me. And I basically stopped noticing that I even had nano texture after about 2 weeks of use. And that is until I actually went outside and left the office because when I hit the bright lights in the hotel lobby, when I was in the airport lounge and the sun was coming through the windows, or even when I was just in direct sunlight, there was no reflection on my screen. Like I could actually work without any type of distraction. So it seems like a small thing, like a first world problem, but you don't really realize how amazing nano texture is until you actually use it in a scenario where you have those distracting lights and you can see people walking by in your screen. Like when I'm in an airport lounge, I can see people in my screen, like a mirror, walking by me, behind me because of the reflections. I didn't have that with nano texture, so it was amazing. Now keep in mind, this is a $150 upgrade when you do get the MacBook Pro. And I would say that, yes, I'm loving this. Yes, I'm saying that it's great and everything, but to be honest, you're going to have to make the decision for yourself. I'm not going to try to sell you on this because this is completely personal opinion. It's your own personal, decision to make. I would go into the Apple Store and look at them side by side, watch some videos, do some video editing if you do that, do whatever you do normally and see if you can, notice a big difference in the colors and if you really like the nano texture display or not. Now, as for the display itself, I'm rocking the 14-inch model instead of the 16-inch model because it just works better for my on-the-go use with this MacBook, especially when it comes to those airplane trays. It just fits better in there. It doesn't fit, perfectly. I wish it was smaller, but it fits a lot better than the 16-inch. Now, we do have the same 120 hertz mini LED display, the same one as the prior M series MacBook Pros, but now with a bump in SDR brightness up to 1000 nits when outdoors. And that's a big jump from the 600 nits on the M3 model. And I have absolutely noticed this on many occasions, not just here in Florida, but also when I was out in California and other areas. When I was using this outside a lot, I could tell the difference. And again, this was noticeable for me because I use my MacBook outdoors a lot, whether it's going to a coffee shop, whether it's just working outdoors at like a food truck. I did that out in California, whatever the case may be, I use my MacBook outside a lot. If you don't use yours outside a lot, this probably won't make a big difference to you. Now, speaking of working in public places, security is always top of mind for me, not just when connecting to public Wi-Fi or anything like that, but also when making phone calls or signing up for things when I'm out and about, such as marketing or just anything that I would do online. And that's where Surfshark's alternative phone number service comes in. This new service is built into the Surfshark app, and it allows you to generate a random US phone number to use for discounts when maybe negotiating seeing a deal with somebody on Facebook Marketplace, or just anytime you feel unsafe using a real number. This is great for security, and it ties in perfectly with their alternative ID feature, which generates an alternate name, email, and address when signing up for things online. And the best part is that everything stays organized in the Surfshark app, and there's also a Chrome extension for autofilling your information while browsing. So if you want to get an alternative phone number or ID to prevent spam and stay secure online, check out Surfshark's latest offering with my link down in the description below. If you use my link, you'll get 4 months for free. Now, don't worry, we're going to talk about the M4 and M4 Pro chips and the starting 16 gigs of RAM in a moment, but let's first talk about the design. And honestly, not a lot has changed here. Again, we do have the 3 USB-C ports on the base model, which is nice. Those are Thunderbolt 4 ports. And we also have an SD card reader and the HDMI port. And then we also have the beautiful space black color on the base model M4. You no longer need to get the Pro chip to get the space black color. Oh, and also I'm super thankful that Apple kept the headphone jack on the MacBook Pro, since I only edit my videos with these wired Sennheiser headphones in. Now hold up, we need to go back to where I said Thunderbolt 4 ports, because Thunderbolt 4 is only on the base model M4. The M4 Pro MacBook Pro gets Thunderbolt 5 ports for the first time ever on a Mac. And I have to say that I wasn't really too compelled or intrigued when Apple announced Thunderbolt 5 on the MacBook Pro, because there wasn't anything out there that used or supported Thunderbolt 5. But honestly, in the past month or so, there's been more Thunderbolt 5 accessories that have released than I expected. So it does give me a little tiny bit of FOMO, but I'm not quite where I need to get the M4 MacBook Pro because of Thunderbolt 5 just yet. So Thunderbolt 5 will undoubtedly be a significant upgrade for the most power of power users, and of course for anybody who needs to access the crazy speeds for their display. So maybe like a, eventually a 6K, 120 hertz display. You might need to have Thunderbolt 5 for that. You will need to have Thunderbolt 5 for that, but that does not exist just yet. Now I have a question for you. What is the most overdue MacBook Pro feature? Before the M4 came out, what was the most overdue feature? If you said 16 gigs of RAM, you are correct. So yeah, 16 gigs of standard RAM is a first for Apple on the MacBook Pro. And it sounds insane just saying that out loud, because this is a Pro device and it never had 16 gigs of RAM starting. But yes, that is the case with the M4. And honestly, I really have noticed day-to-day improvements going from 8 gigs to 16 gigs of RAM, despite saying before, like last year, that 8 gigs was enough for most people. I didn't say it was like the best thing ever, and it was going to work for everybody, but for most people 8 gigs was enough. But now with 16 gigs, it's definitely enough for most people in my opinion. And this is really one of the main reasons I decided to stick with the M4 over the M4 Pro, because it's not just related to photo and video editing. I also noticed an improvement with web browsing, and when I had several apps opened up at once. Like I constantly had numerous tabs and windows open while out traveling, and I never had a beach ball or really any type of slowdown whatsoever. Now I didn't go crazy with like a full stress test or anything like that, like I did in my initial video with the M4 and M4 Pro MacBook Pro, but they both performed just fine over these past few months. But I will say that the chip itself might be where you consider spending that extra $400, because the M4 Pro chip is overpowered. Like I could not slow that thing down to save my life. And that's really one of the big reasons I just stuck with the M4 over the M4 Pro. But don't get it twisted. The M4, the base model M4 MacBook Pro is a beast. Like, in the past, I could not edit videos efficiently on any base model MacBook Pro. I actually used the M4 Max MacBook Pro up until this year, but in the past 3 months, I've edited several videos on M4 with, a lot of motion VFX plugins, blur effects, and multiple layers in my projects, and I've not had any issues. However, the more intense your project gets, obviously M4 Pro will be better, and it will export the video faster as well, as shown in my comparison, but, I never really had a problem with M4. And once again, like I said earlier, if you think you'll benefit from the additional GPU cores, it might be worth it to go M4 Pro, but if not, I think the M4 is just fine. Now, I will say there is a big downside with the M4 MacBook Pro, and that is the fact that it has one cooling fan inside, whereas the M4 Pro has 2 cooling fans, which means that the M4 is going to be louder. I did a test on this, and the M4 MacBook Pro is significantly louder. The fan noise is significantly louder than the M4 Pro MacBook Pro. So that could be a downside depending on how you work. The fan doesn't kick on too often for me unless I'm like running a benchmark or doing something insane, but it is still worth mentioning. So something I did not expect over the past 3 months is that the M4 battery life is amazing. Like, it's better than M3, it's better than any other MacBook I've used, and I've noticed that the M4 MacBook Pro gets better battery life than the M4 Pro MacBook Pro. I really haven't used the M4 Pro in like over a month, but for the first couple of months I was using them back to back. You know, the M4 did get better battery life by like at least an hour additional on-screen time, which is pretty impressive. Now, we do also have an upgraded 12 megapixel webcam on both models. We do have center stage and desk mode, which is nice, especially since you probably take a lot of calls on your MacBook Pro. And of course, the microphone is great as well on both models. The 14-inch and 16-inch model both have excellent studio quality microphones. And man, the speakers are insane on the 16-inch model. So I only have the 14-inch model, but I did test out the 16-inch, and of course the speakers are going to be better on that bigger frame, but the speakers are still great on the 14-inch model. So all in all, after 3 months, I'm even more confident in my statement that the M4 Pro MacBook Pro is the better bang for your buck purchase over the base model M4 MacBook Pro. That's what I said in my initial 1 week later video, and I still feel that way now. I think you get the most performance for your money with the M4 Pro model. But that does not necessarily mean it's the right choice for you, because it was not the right choice for me. Like, $400 is still $400. Like, yes, that could be the best bang for your buck, but it may not be worth it for you. It may not be worth the extra $400 for you because it wasn't for me. And that's coming from somebody who does predominantly photo and video editing. So if you're somebody in my, boat, if you're somebody who has the same type of workflow, you may want to, use the base model M4 for a couple of weeks within the return period and see if it's sufficient enough for you. And plus, you have to factor in, like, I wanted the nano texture display. That's an extra $150. I didn't want to have to, spend all the money on the M4 Pro, the extra $400, and then the extra $150 on top of that. You know what I mean? So for me, the M4 just made a lot more sense for what I'm using this MacBook for. And I could not be more happy with my purchase, because I've not used the MacBook Pro like this since the M1 Max. Like, the M2 and M3, I basically just used them for the first couple of months, and that was it. I kind of didn't use them again. So this has been a very big breath of fresh air for M4, and I really love it. So I hope it came through in this video, because I'm a big fan of this. I actually use this more than my MacBook Air, which has not been the case for the past at least 2 years. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments below. Do you have the M4 MacBook Pro? Do you have the M4 Pro MacBook Pro? Or do you want to purchase one of them? Let me know all your thoughts down there in the comments below. If you like this video, if you disagree with some of my points, let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. But anyways, guys, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more MacBook videos, and I'll see you in the next one.